Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a word that many people use, but far fewer people truly understand. That word is accountability. Accountability is one of those words that sounds simple until it is time to practice it. We love accountability when it applies to someone else. We want accountability from our politicians, our leaders, our employers, our children, our spouses, our communities, and our institutions. But when accountability points in our direction, suddenly it becomes uncomfortable. The truth is, accountability is not punishment. Accountability is not shame. Accountability is not humiliation. Accountability is ownership. It is the willingness to look at ourselves honestly and say, I played a role in this outcome, and I accept responsibility for my choices, my actions, and their consequences. That is what accountability looks like. Accountability begins with honesty, not honesty with everyone else, honesty with ourselves. Many of us have become expert at explaining our behavior. We can tell you why we reacted the way that we did. We can tell you what someone else did to us first. We can tell you what happened in our childhood, in our neighborhood, in our relationships, or in our circumstances. Sometimes those explanations are valid. Sometimes they are painful. Sometimes they are absolutely true. But explanations are not the same thing as accountability. Accountability sounds like this. Yes, I was hurt, but I still made that decision. Yes, I was angry, but I chose those words. Yes, I experienced trauma, but I still have responsibility for how I respond today. Accountability does not ignore pain. It simply refuses to allow pain to become permission. One of the greatest challenges in life is learning the difference between fault and responsibility. Something may not be your fault. You may not have the cause, the abuse. You may not have caused the neglect. You may not have caused the betrayal. You may have not caused the environment you was raised in. But eventually, healing becomes your responsibility. Growth becomes your responsibility. Change becomes your responsibility. That is accountability. Accountability means I stop asking, whose fault is it? And I start asking, what am I going to do about it? Accountability in relationships look like apologizing without excuses. Too often, our apology sounds like this. I'm sorry if you were offended. I'm sorry. You took it the wrong way. I'm sorry, but you made me angry. That is not accountability. That is blame wearing the clothes of an apology. A real apology sounds different, like this. I was wrong. I hurt you. I should have not said what I said. I should not have done that. I understand the impact my actions had on you. I am committed to doing better. Accountability is not simple, saying sorry. It is changing behavior because repeated apologies without changed behavior become manipulation. Accountability asks the question, What am I doing differently now? If I say I value my family, but never spend time with them, accountability asks me to examine my actions. If I say I value honesty, but continue to lie, accountability asks me to confront my contradictions. If I say I want peace, but to continue creating chaos, accountability forces me to look in the mirror. Our actions reveal our priorities more than our words ever will. Accountability and parenting means admitting when we get it wrong. Parents are human beings. Parents make mistakes. Parents lose patience. Parents say things they wish they could take back. Parents carry wounds from their childhood. But accountable parents say, I was wrong. I should not have spoken to you that way. You deserve better from me. Imagine how many adults will be carrying less pain if they simply heard those words as children. Accountability does not weaken authority, it strengthens trust. Accountability and leadership means accepting responsibility when things go wrong. A poor leader says, the team failed, the employees failed, the community failed. An accountable leader says, what could I have done better? How could I have communicated more clearly? What responsibility belongs to me? Leadership is not about taking credit for success and avoiding blame for failure. Leadership is carrying responsibility even when it's heavy. Accountability in friendships means telling the truth with love. Real friends do not simply tell us what we want to hear. Real friends challenge us. Real friends hold us to its standards we claim to have. Real friends ask difficult questions. Real friends say, I love you too much to watch you destroy yourself. That is accountability. Accountability in community means refusing to normalize dysfunction. Sometimes unhealthy behavior becomes so common that it starts feeling normal. Violence becomes normal. Dishonesty becomes normal. Absence becomes normal. Disrespect becomes normal. Broken promises become normal. But accountability challenges the culture it says. Just because something is common does not mean it is accepted. Communities grow when people become willing to hold themselves and one another to a higher standard. Accountability also means accepting consequences. This may be the hardest part. Every action creates consequences. Some consequences arrive immediately, others arrive years later. Sometimes accountability means accepting that trust must be rebuilt. Sometimes accountability means accepting legal consequences. Sometimes accountability means accepting financial consequences. Sometimes accountability means accepting that some relationships cannot return to what they once were. Consequences are not always evidence of cruelty. Often, they are evidence of reality. One of the most powerful signs of maturity is the ability to accept consequences without becoming bitter. Accountability also requires consistency. It is easy to be accountable when people are watching. The challenge is being accountable when no one is looking. Character is revealed in private moments. Integrity is doing the right thing when there is no audience. Integrity is returning money that nobody knew you took. Integrity is telling the truth when a lie will be easier. Integrity is honoring commitments, even when they become inconvenient. Accountability is not a public performance. It is a private discipline. One reason accountability is difficult is because our pride fights against it. Pride says, protect yourself, defend yourself, blame someone else, make excuses. But growth requires humility. Humility says, I still have things to learn. I do not know everything. I can improve. I can change. The strongest people in the room are often the ones willing to say, I was wrong. Accountability is strength. Avoidance is weakness. Another reason accountability is difficult is because accountability often requires discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Truth is uncomfortable. But discomfort is often the price of transformation. Athletes embrace discomfort to become stronger. Students embrace discomfort to become educated. Businesses embrace discomfort to improve. Individuals must embrace discomfort to grow. If you run from every uncomfortable conversation, we also run from growth. Accountability is especially important when we talk about healing from trauma. Many people have experienced things that no person should ever have endured: abuse, violence, neglect, abandonment, loss. These experiences shapes us. They affect us. They leave scars. Acknowledging those wounds is important. Seeking help is important. Healing is important. But accountability asks, how will I respond to what happened to me? Will I become what hurt me, or will I become something better? Will I pass my pain to the next generation, or will I become the person who breaks the cycle? Breaking cycles is accountability in action. It is saying, the pain stops with me. The violence stops with me. The addiction stops with me. The dysfunction stops with me. That is courage. That is leadership. That is accountability. Accountability also means surrounding ourselves with people who tell us the truth. Everyone needs mirrors. Everyone needs people who can say, you are better than this. You are making excuses. You need to take responsibility. The people who love us most are not always the people who agree with us most. Sometimes love looks like correction. Sometimes love looks like challenge. Sometimes love looks like truth. Accountability partners do not exist to shame us. They exist to help us become the person we say we want to be. Imagine what happened if accountability becomes normal. Imagine relationships where people own their mistakes. Imagine families where apologies were common. Imagine workplaces where leaders accepted responsibility. Imagine communities where people stop waiting for someone else to fix the problem. Imagine what could happen if every person asked, what part of this belongs to me? That question has the power to change lives. Before we ask what our country should do, what should we do? Before we ask what our community should do, what should we do? Before we ask what our family should do, what should we do? Because accountability starts with the person in the mirror. The mirror does not lie. The mirror does not make excuses. The mirror simply asks, what are you responsible for? At the end of the day, accountability is not about perfection. None of us are perfect. All of us will fail. All of us will make mistakes. All of us will hurt people unintentionally. All of us will have moments we wish we could do over. Accountability is not about never falling. It's about what we do after we fall. Do we deny it? Do we blame others? Do we make excuses? Or do we stand up, accept responsibility, make amends where possible, and commit to doing better? That is accountability. Accountability looks like honesty. Accountability looks like humility. Accountability looks like ownership. Accountability looks like changed behavior. Accountability looks like accepting consequences. Accountability looks like growth. Most importantly, accountability looks like courage, because it takes courage to tell the truth about ourselves. It takes courage to admit mistakes. It takes courage to change. But that courage is where transformation begins. So, as you leave here today, I want to leave you with one question. If every person in your life described your level of accountability, what would they say? Would they describe someone who owns their mistakes? Would they describe someone who learns and grows? Would they describe someone who blames others and avoids responsibility? Would they describe someone who practices what they preach? The answer to that question may reveal where your next season of growth begins. Because accountability is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming better. Thank you, brothers and sisters.